Hello, everybody. Oh. Okay. So sorry. I am just getting out of work. All right. Hey, hi there. What's going on? I had a few comments on my last live. Really encouraging. I'm actually shocked to see so many people were following my videos back when I was like uploading to YouTube regularly on various topics regarding linguistics and learning Japanese and things like that. But I wanted to hop on here very quickly and just talk about motivation. I know someone commented on my last live actually about motivation. How do you stay motivated learning a language? And that is one of the hardest questions to answer because every language learner is different, which means everyone's motivation will be different, right? Your motivation will vary from person to person, from case to case. I can only give you some of my personal experiences with learning a few languages. I've tried a bunch of different languages actually, and the only ones that really stuck, the only ones that I really had enough motivation stay with me as I'm learning the language were Japanese, American Sign Language, and Esperanto. Those are the only really three languages that I have personally learned for quite a long period of time and gotten to a good proficiency in. Of course, Japanese will be my top second language, foreign language. After that, I would say maybe American Sign Language, and then Esperanto comes in third. But I've also tried languages like German. I've tried French. I've done a bunch of Spanish classes. I did Hebrew one time. That didn't stick at all. I was doing Korean and Chinese for a hot minute. And I don't know, I even tried Klingon with Duolingo. That was interesting. But none of them really stuck. And my only motivation, I only had one little motivation, and that motivation was simply to learn the language. That was it. And in the title of this video, you can see that I'm going to reference French. I like French. It was my goal in 2020 to learn French, and I stuck with it actually for quite a while. I did Duolingo French, and then I had a French textbook series that I bought. I made Anki cards. I was really going for it. I was talking with my French friend, and I was asking her for resources and websites that I could data mine, sentence mine from for French. So I was really into French, and I was going to learn French for a whole year every day. And midway through the year, I kind of fell off. It was not really good at all. I had huge motivation, I wouldn't say motivation, I had huge drive. I had huge drive in the beginning, and then that quickly fell off. And I stopped with French. I picked it up back earlier this year. I did a lot of French, and then I dropped it again. There's no drive anymore. And I thought to myself, why did I have such a lack of drive with French for such a short period of time? After such a short period of time of learning. But with Japanese, I have continued to learn Japanese for years and years and years and years and years, and still to this day, I am training Japanese every single day. And I looked at some different motivations that I have. For French, there was really no motivation. When I say motivation, I mean a specific goal, a concrete, attainable goal, something that you can put a date on and say, okay, by this day, if I have this much racked up, then I've completed my goal, With Japanese, there's a few ways that you can set goals. One of the best ways you can set a goal is through the standardized tests for that language. So, for example, the Japanese language proficiency test, the JLPT, that's the big one, right, that everyone knows and loves. The JLPT. That has a specific date. It is attainable. There's specific materials for that. You can specifically study just for the JLPT or use it as motivation, right? I'm going to study Japanese for a year, and at the end of the year in December, I'm going to take the JLPT N5 or whatever and see how I do. That's a great concrete motivation to really give you some drive into learning the language. Now, with French, I didn't have any of that, right? I didn't have a class. I wasn't taking a class where I was paying money, and I had to be there. I didn't know of any standardized tests. I didn't know of any proficiency tests or anything like that for French. All I had was Duolingo and some books, and my goal was to get through it all. And unfortunately, that was not a good motivation for me. So French, I really failed in learning French. I would love to pick it up later, maybe if I find a specific test that I can study for to set as my goal, to make it my motivation. Again, as I said earlier in this video, everyone's motivation is going to be different, okay? Because we're all built a little differently, right? We're all wired a little differently in our minds. What motivates me might not necessarily motivate someone else. I've seen a bunch of different people who say, I don't like standardized tests. I get test anxiety. I don't want to take the JLPT. I don't think it's a good measure of actual language proficiency. There's a whole bunch of reasons not to follow a standardized test. For me personally, those kinds of proficiency assessments are something concrete for me personally, something attainable, something that I can look towards, right? I've taken JLPT before, I've passed it, right? What's next on my radar for Japanese is the Kanji Kente, the kanji, basically standardized kanji exam. And there are, 10 plus 2, there are 12 levels of the Kanji Kente. And with level 1 being the absolute hardest. I am studying right now for the pre-2 level, Jun Nikyu, the pre-2 level, and it's quite a lot already. It's quite a lot. And level 1, I heard, is absolutely ridiculous. There's only really a few foreigners who have actually passed the Ikkyu, the first level of the Kanji Kente. Okay, but that is my ultimate goal, is the Kanji Kente N1. I'm starting right now with pre-2, and there are specific dates for that test. So when I picked a date initially being last year in June, and suddenly I felt very motivated to study the pre-2 material, and I was studying every single day. I was doing great. I was actually impressed with myself. And that was back in January, March-ish maybe. And then life kind of took a huge turn for me and my wife, and I had to basically give up on the June date and focus on some major life events that were going on right at that time. Right now, things are good, and I have recently restarted my pre-2 Kanji Kente studies, and I am planning on taking the next test, next year in June again. So I'm going to try for the next June test. That is my motivation. That is my attainable goal, right? And I encourage you, if you're like me, or if you don't know if you're like me, right? If you're not sure, go ahead and try to find a proficiency test or something like an actual assessment, a standardized assessment that you can use to be your motivation, okay? Even just having that, right? You don't have to study just for the test. You can study overall, right? Generally study Japanese and then take the exam and see how your general studies fared, right? How well they actually did. Oh my gosh, it's already 9.5 minutes into this live. So I'm going to just finish it up really quickly. Everyone's motivation is different. My motivation recently has been a standardized test. I want to take, again, the Kanji Kente mid next year. Eventually I'll take the JLPT N1. I haven't taken the N1 yet. I have to take that and see how I do. But there's many ways you can gauge your motivation. There's many things you can do. I'm not going to go on any more about motivation because there's a whole lot more I can say. All I'm going to say in this video is that your motivation is really dependent on what pushes you, what interests you, right? For me, it's tests. I love tests. Actually, I have the opposite of test anxiety. I don't know, test love? I don't know. But I'm interested to see what you guys think about motivation. What motivates you to keep studying your language? For some reason, I've just stayed with Japanese forever. It's very interesting to me. I've stayed with sign language for a long time now. Esperanto, I've stayed with for quite a while. It's been on and off, but I want to hear what keeps you guys interested and motivated. For sign language, that's another thing. For American Sign Language, my motivation for that was teaching, actually. I wanted to, and actually getting engaged with the community, the deaf community. It all started with a TV show called Sue Thomas FBI. And I is spelled E-Y-E. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. It's a great show. But anyways, I'll stop it here. Thank you guys, for those of you who did tune in, or for those of you who are watching after the fact. Thank you guys always for your support. I want to hear what motivates you guys. I'm hoping to do more of these earlier in the week, like Monday, Tuesday, okay? Maybe I'll do some like drive with me's. I was thinking of doing a drive with me to work this morning, you know. Maybe I'll do some of those in the future, but for now, mainly Mondays and Tuesdays. I'll see you guys. Bye. See you. Be blessed, y'all.